Alright, so I'm in the airport right now in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam, and I'm about to leave Vietnam, ending my month here, flying to Taipei. I got up like 5 a.m., so that's why I look like this. But I feel like I always regret not like documenting more of my travels. Like when I get home, I'm always like, oh, I wish I had more videos, or like remember how I felt and stuff like that. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. My flight's a little bit delayed, so I have a second. Yeah, so what else do I want to say? Vietnam has just been like so incredible. Like I knew it would be fun, and I was pretty nervous because it was my first solo trip, and I figured I'd like it because everyone's like, oh, like you end up having the best time of your life, like your first solo trip, and you like just want to do it like again and again, and that definitely happened. But I mean, obviously you're going to be nervous going into it, and like my first day I was like, I don't know if I like this, but then like every day after that I was like, this is freaking awesome. I'm flying to Taipei. Oh, I already said that. Clearly tired. I need to finish this coffee. But yeah, so I've been traveling since the beginning of September, and right now it's middle of November, so it's been like 2.5 months. I have like 3 days in Taipei, and then I fly back to the States, which like I'm obviously sad, and I don't want to leave Asia because I love it here, but I think it's like a good time that I'm going home, because I feel like around 3 months is kind of like the max that I can be like just go traveling. And I'm going home for Thanksgiving, which is going to be like so great to like see all my family together like right after this trip. And also I'm going to be moving into a house with 2 of my friends, so like it's just, at least there's exciting stuff to go home to. First, like if I was going home and like starting work tomorrow or something crazy like that, I feel like I'd be like a little bit like even more sad that I was leaving, but for now it's good. Okay, so to explain a little bit more of my trip, I'm like sitting on the airport floor right now in a corner, and like I don't know, I feel awkward, but I was in Australia for a month traveling with my friend Gina. We had so much fun, and then she had to go home, and I don't start work till January, so I was like, I'm not just gonna go back home and like sit around for a month, like might as well keep traveling. So that's why I decided to go solo. For the most part, like traveling, I've always just had friends come join me, which has been like so awesome, and it's like always worked out. And I was actually supposed to have a couple friends like come meet me in this part of the trip, like in Vietnam or somewhere in Asia, but it just didn't work out this time. But I'm really like not happy that I couldn't see them, obviously, but like I'm glad that I ended up being able to have like my first solo trip, because it turned out really good. So after Australia, I flew to Singapore like mid-October. Was there for like 3 days or so. That didn't really like feel like the start of my solo trip. I mean, it was the start of my solo trip, but like I've had like a day or two by myself before in another country, like at like a layover, or like toward the end of the trip or toward the beginning of the trip before like meeting someone. So that just is kind of what Singapore felt like. It didn't feel like as real. But then when I landed in Vietnam, it like really felt real. And I was actually really proud of myself because, so I landed in Vietnam around like 4 p.m. I think it was like October 20th or so, and I was like looking up how to get to my hostel, like how to get into the city, and you could take the local bus for like 35 dong, which is like $1.50, or you could take like a taxi or a cab or something for like $10. And I managed to figure out how to take the local bus for $1.50, and I was like really proud of myself. I thought it would be kind of, I mean, it was easy, but like I thought there would be more like backpackers on it and stuff. And I mean, there were 2 like Westerners sitting in front of me like speaking English, and like they had backpacks and all, but like other than that there wasn't really anyone. And I got pretty confused at first because like the lady at the information desk like told me how, sorry, I had the sniffles, told me how to take the bus. She was like, oh, it's number 86, like it's 35,000 dong, it leaves every like 20 minutes or whatever she said. And then I go outside and there's like no one standing at this bus stop, and I was like, I mean, it's an airport, like, it's pretty busy, so I was just like really confused the whole time if I was doing it right, but managed to find my hostel. and get into the city for $1.50, so that was pretty bomb. Given today, I paid $10 to get to the airport, so not as ideal, but I mean, I left at like 5 a.m., so I wasn't trying to figure out a bus at that time or something like that. So I figured it was worth it. And Vietnam has actually been so cheap. Like, I was trying to spend around $1,000 because that's like definitely doing like Asia on a budget. And I ended up spending around like $1,200 for the entire, like, well, it was almost a month. I think I was here like 25 days because today's the 15th and I got here the 20th of October. So yeah, so I'm pretty proud of that because like people spend that much on a month in rent and I spent it like traveling a whole country. So you can definitely travel for cheap. Obviously it's pretty expensive to get over to Asia with your flight and everything, but I still managed to find a pretty cheap flight, which was awesome. I mean, my situation was weird because we flew to Hawaii first, and I flew to Australia, and then Vietnam, or Singapore, Vietnam. And then now I'm flying from Vietnam to Taipei first, and then Taipei back to the States. So I'm kind of all over the place, but it works in order to get a cheap flight. So, okay, so like highlights and, well, I guess there's kind of lowlights, but not really, of the trip. So starting off, I mean, I guess the low light was at the beginning, like my first day. I don't know, it just felt really like strange being by myself. Not even in like a, like I wasn't like scared to be by myself. Like I wasn't like, oh my God, like there's no one else here to like protect me or like for both of us to look safe. Like I'm wandering around by myself. Like that wasn't the issue. It was more just like that I felt kind of lonely and like I'm so used to like talking to someone and being like, oh, where do you want to eat today? Like what activities do you want to do today? And it felt so weird to just like totally have to decide for myself, especially because like for me, I'm like used to compromising my entire life because like growing up with so many siblings and always traveling with people. And so it was really bizarre, like just being like straight up, like, sorry if it's really loud, I'm in an airport and that's why I'm trying to use this to like talk into. So hopefully this video even has sound. But yeah, it was super weird just like deciding what I wanted to do and then like also not really having anyone to like talk about it, because that's what I love like when traveling with friends before, is that you can just be like, oh my God, like how cool is Vietnam? Like how cool is like the city we're in? How good is this food we're eating? Like that kind of stuff. So it was just really bizarre to like my first day at least to like not really like be able to converse with someone like that. And then, I mean, literally after like a couple hours, I ended up like making friends in my hostel and then traveling with other people like for the rest of the trip. So it was fine after the initial like first day, but I just had to get over that like couple hour hump basically. So my first, like, I landed in Hanoi and then I did like a 3-day trip to Mai Chau, which is it's like a couple hours outside of Hanoi, and it's like the rice terraces. We did like hiking and biking and stayed in a homestay, and it was really fun. I was actually supposed to go to Sapa, which is like a really funny story. So I was like hanging out, we went out for drinks with some of the people in my hostel, and I was like, all right guys, like I gotta go back, kind of have an early night because I leave tomorrow at 8 a.m. for Sapa. And I get back and I'm like packing up my stuff, it's like midnight, and I check my email, and they emailed me and they were like, oh, like there's not enough people going on the trip, so we're canceling it. And they emailed me at like 8 p.m. They're like, please come talk to us. But by the time I saw it, it was like midnight. So I was like, dang, whatever. I was like, I'll just get up in the morning, go figure it out, ask for a refund. And by then I'd been in Hanoi for a couple days, so I was kind of annoyed because I didn't want to like stay in Hanoi much longer. Not that Hanoi's really nice and like I enjoyed it, but it was just kind of like I was there for a couple days, kind of already did everything I wanted to do. So I didn't get up like as early, but I got up at like 8 a.m. and like went to ask about the refund and everything, and they were like, oh well, actually like a trip just left like 10 minutes ago to go to Mai Chau. It's kind of similar to Sapa, less touristy. If you want to go, we can like call the bus to stop and take you on a motorbike there in like 10 minutes. And so I was like, okay, sure. Like I didn't know what else to do, and I think the trip was like slightly more expensive. I think it was like around $100 or $110 to go for like the 3 days in Sapa, but Mai Chau was like I think a little bit more than that, and they were like, oh, we'll just like cover the difference because like we had to cancel your trip or whatever. So literally ran back to my hostel, grabbed all my bags, hopped on this motorbike, and then like met all these people on the bus on the way there. And I was like really nervous about it because I was like, great, I'm gonna be that girl that's like holding everyone up. And honestly, most people were like sleeping when I got on the bus, so I don't even think that many people like noticed. But it was really fun. It ended up being like 5 girls. We were all from different places. We were all like traveling solo, so we really enjoyed like hanging out with each other. And a couple of the girls I ended up meeting again, like on other parts of my trip. So that was really fun. It did rain one day, which was kind of a bummer. It rained the day we were supposed to go hiking. So we kind of just like more just walked around. We didn't actually like full on really go hiking, but it was still gorgeous seeing like the rice terraces. And I'm sure it would have been even better if there like wasn't as much fog, but it was still like, it's one of those things where like obviously you can't control the weather and like you're just having a good time anyway. Like you're just happy to be in Vietnam, like on an adventure kind of thing. So that was really good. And then when I got back to Hanoi, I went on a like party boat cruise thing in Ha Long Bay, which was like definitely one of the highlights of my trip. Like I had so much fun. The people on our trip were hilarious. There was like so many Irish people, and they were all like, it was this group of guys, like there was 4 of them, and they were just like the funniest people ever. It was like, I felt like I was like around my brothers and cousins again, because they were just like being like really just like idiots, but like in a really entertaining way. And then there I also met this girl named Holly, who was also Irish, and I ended up traveling with her like pretty much the rest of my trip. Like I left her like this morning, well kind of last night I guess is when I said bye to her, and I was like so sad. Like I'm gonna have separation anxiety because her and I have been traveling together for the past like 2.5 weeks, and we've just like had the best time and like really just like got each other, if that makes sense. Like it's so funny how you can just like meet people like that who are from like somewhere totally different than you and like just happen to be on the same trip as you. And then I don't know, her and I like got to the point where we would like almost like finish each other's sentences or something, or just be like, oh, I'm really hungry right now, and the other one would be like, I was just about to say that. Or we'd be like, oh, I'm kind of in the mood to do this. The other person would be like, yeah, like that's exactly what I was thinking. So it just worked out really well, and it was really nice because I don't know, like I said before, like it was just nice to be traveling with someone again. And like it's cool when you're solo because you can still like meet other people and like travel with them, but also like if you end up like not really vibing with them, you can just kind of like stop traveling with them. Like it's not really a big deal or anything. But luckily for us, like both of us enjoyed spending time with each other, and we were kind of going on the same path, so it worked out really well. Because like especially when you're doing like night buses or like trying to figure out where your next hostel is and stuff like that, it's just easy to ask someone. And both of us had met a lot of different people like traveling Vietnam so far, so it was really easy because any city we were going to, we were pretty much like, oh, like this girl I met earlier was just there, so we were able to like message them and be like, oh, what hostel would you recommend, or what activities would you recommend doing, which was like super convenient. And then our favorite town was probably Hoi An, because it was just such a cute little city, and like it was a good mix of all the things that we liked in Vietnam, because it wasn't as like crazy and busy as like Ho Chi Minh or Hanoi, but it was still kind of busy. Like there was still a lot going on, and it's just like a cute little town. There's like a lot of cute cafes, and we did like a cooking class there and a lantern making class, and just like a lot of fun little things, which we really enjoyed. Low light, if anything, was probably just that like it rained when we were in Phong Nha and Dalat, and like both of those there was like different things we wanted to do. Like in Dalat there's this really cool like cave that you can go, like you can zip line into it, and then I think you go like kayaking or something in Dark Cave, and because it was raining, like the water levels we couldn't go, so that was kind of a bummer. But also like again, you can't control the weather, and like I would rather not go and be safe than get like stuck in a cave like what happened to the people in Thailand. And also it's fine, I can always come back to Vietnam and do the cave if I really want to. And then in Dalat we wanted to go canyoning, which is like waterfall rappelling down waterfalls, and it was also like pouring the rain, so we didn't end up going. And then it was kind of annoying though, because like this other girl that I met, the girl I met in my child, Rachel, she was like a day or so behind me traveling, and so I kept meeting up with her, and like it would always be like the rainy place we were in, like the day after I left it would get sunny, and she would be like posting this stuff about like how the weather was nice and she got to like do the thing I missed out the day before. So that was kind of frustrating, because like she got to do Dark Cave, and then the canyoning she like almost got to do, but then it was still too, like the water levels or something like that weren't safe enough, so they ended up going like whitewater rafting, which I was like, okay, I'm not as like bummed that I'm not staying here an extra day because I've already been rafting and like I more just wanted to do canyoning. But it was funny too because I feel like that kept happening where like it was raining somewhere, and then Holly and I were like bummed that we couldn't do something, and then we talked to someone and they were like, oh, we went anyway and it was like crappy or something like that, or like, oh, like it didn't even look that pretty, or like, I don't know, just like little things like that. Like in Hue, there's this like abandoned water park that a lot of people go to, and it was pouring the rain the morning we were there, so we didn't end up going to it. When it stopped raining, we just went to like the Imperial City, but we met these girls that were like, that had went that morning, and they were like, it was literally flooded, like we couldn't even get in. We were like, oh, well, good thing we didn't try to go to that. So it all works out, and I would definitely come back to Vietnam and try to do like all these things I missed though, because I just love it here, and it's cheap, and the food's good, and the people are good, and like a lot of the stuff I feel like there's some stuff that I could still kind of repeat and it not be too repetitive, if that makes sense. Just because like there were different things that we weren't able to do in different cities, so try to come back when it's not as rainy. And then I also really wish I would have done the Haijiang Loop, which is in the north. You can do like a motorbike tour for like 4 days or so, and you can just ride on like the back of someone's, because I'm not trying to drive a motorbike around, not really confident in my skills in that. But yeah, so that's the one thing that I wish I would have fit into this trip. But like I said, I'm planning on coming back to Vietnam because it's freaking awesome. I think what else I wanted to say. I think that's kind of, it for just like the basics, because I don't know, I just want to remember more things about my trip, and I'm really bad about that because I've been trying, like I have a journal, I've been carrying around a journal like the entire 2.5 months, and I wrote in it for like the first 3 days, and then kind of failed at that. And then I've kind of been taking notes on my phone, but it's more just like, oh, like remember to recommend like this restaurant or this hostel to someone who's going again. My friend Tori, who I met, my friend Sam and I met her last summer in Colombia when we were in South America. She was like taking a year off and traveling, and she went to Southeast Asia after South America, and she sent me this whole list of things in Vietnam, and it was like the most like helpful recommendation list ever. Like sometimes you ask people for recommendations, they're like, oh yeah, like the city was so fun, like you should go, and you're just like, okay, thanks, like that wasn't really helpful. Like I know it's fun, that's why I'm going. Or some people will like give you like the 2 basic things to do, and you're like, yeah, Google told me that. But she gave me like a full-on list, had like each city she went to, had the hostel she stayed in, whether she recommended it or not, had like activities, had like the food to try, and it was just like a bomb list. So I want to try to like make my own of that list for like other people, if anyone else is like, any of my friends are traveling to Vietnam, so I can send them that and be like, this, because it was super helpful too, because I didn't do like any really research before coming to Vietnam. So I knew like some general basic stuff, just from like following different people and like seeing other people travel to Vietnam, but like more details I didn't really know. So it was really nice, because anytime I was like not really sure what to do or like where to go next, or kind of like what was on the path, I just like pulled up her list and was like, all right, like this is what she did. So it was really helpful. Obviously I didn't like copy her trip and do everything exactly, but it was just a really nice guide to have. So I definitely want to try to like make one of those, even just to remember like the things I did and stuff like that too, and like favorite food and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's kind of it for now. I need to figure out if my flight's still delayed or not. So yeah, bye.